to Press Play, our public relations podcast, where we talk about all things public relations, but in a real kind of behind the scenes way, in the way that we would really talk about things. So today I have with me Ashley Pontius and Bethany Rhodes, and we're just talking about nonprofits and what it's like. Each of us, all of us, have worked extensively with nonprofits and currently work with nonprofits. And we just wanted to talk about that and like the nuances of what that requires, what PR strategies should kind of consider or be considered for when you're working with nonprofits, what makes that successful. So just kind of a quick talk on that. First, before we get started into that, I do want to say or ask Ashley and Bethany, do you have a favorite either reason or part of working with nonprofits?
Yeah, I think the best thing about them is they're already doing so many great things in the community that I don't want to say it's easy, but it's there's a ton for us to pitch. There are a ton of stories for us to tell. And those are the types of stories that generally reporters and the news and producers like because they're human interests, they're helping people. There's that human angle. A lot of times there's beyond the nonprofit, someone they're helping that we can highlight and really create a real narrative and a story that we can send out to the media. So that's the best part. And we get to do good by getting that story out there and getting their mission out there. We're not just putting out, a press release on revenue or, the hire or something like that, even though we love that too. But it makes you feel like you're really helping to do good.
Yeah, I feel like everyone who works for a nonprofit has to love it because it's such great work, and that passion really comes through. So when they're telling us about the exciting things that they have going on, and just seeing their excitement and the love of what they do makes us excited to get that out there too. So it's really rewarding for us seeing that they feel so, rewarded for working for a nonprofit.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I think it makes such a difference when nonprofits have people that are just passionate, and most do, but it is, I guess if I were to give any recommendation or advice, it would be like choose wisely who's on your team, who your vendors are, things like that, because once you really get that sense of passion, it makes such a difference. It makes that whole thing go so much farther. And I know that we all on our team get very passionate about the organizations we're representing, and we really rally behind them, and that's what it feels so rewarding to do. It's just really incredible. I'll start with Bethany. A question for you. Tell me a little bit about, do you have like a favorite nonprofit story or maybe a campaign or something that you've seen that has worked really well?
Yeah, so one of my clients is an early literacy nonprofit, and they recently came out with an initiative where they partnered with a book publisher, but just to create this collection of diverse children's books to distribute at clinics across the country. So that way a clinician, a pediatrician can then give it to a child and a family for free at their well visit. And so it was just really great, not only knowing that this is happening across the country, but that these books are really going to people who might not have access to, brand new children's books that are age appropriate. And the best thing is that they're inclusive. So they feature characters either of color, or they have same-sex parents. There are characters who might have disabilities. So these children and families who are receiving these books can see themselves reflected in them. And so I think that's one of the best things that I've been able to kind of put out there, and it's been really well received. And I think another great thing is that it's continuing to happen. It wasn't like it just happened all within 1 week. They're continuing to distribute these books. There were hundreds of thousands of them. So that was a really big undertaking, but just a lot of just reward in getting that message out to so many different areas of the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Ashley, how about you? Same question. Do you have a favorite campaign or something that you think works really well?
I have a ton of them, but I think I've told this story before. One of the clients I worked with, they did a campaign around collecting pet food. Of course, I'm a dog lover. So they worked with a local food bank. And, a lot of people will think, well, donating canned goods and donating other things for people. But a lot of times pets get overlooked and people also need that. And pets are given up to shelters and things like that because people can't afford to feed them. So my client just organized basically with their customers a pet food drive, and people came and dropped off. I think it was like a month-long campaign, dropped off pet food in bins, and then they did this big, celebration and giveaway to one of the large local food banks. And it really turned into a great campaign and some great media for them, and obviously great for the community giving back.
Absolutely. Big dog lover here too. So one thing I find really, really interesting is when a client gives us access to donations that we can see when they come in. So it has been a kind of catapulting experience when they do that, meaning we could see if we get a client on XYZ news station, how many donations came in, and then so on. And it really helps us like tailor things, but also celebrate with them and be like, yes, we did it. We hit this, or we're getting this, or the message is well received. To me, that's like really another kind of sage advice I'd give to organizations is maybe allowing some exposure to some of the numbers, so that your PR team can learn from that.
Yeah. And even really tracking it internally, because I don't know that everyone does that, on a daily nitty-gritty basis, the way I think this particular client you're talking about does, where every single day they're seeing, okay, our CEO was on Fox News or was on MSNBC, and they can see those donations rolling in and can really link it back to a specific thing instead of looking at it, monthly or quarterly, where you might not have as much insight into the exact reasons that there were spikes in donations at certain times. So I think that is really good advice.
Yeah, just echoing what you said, Ashley. This one particular client that we work with that's doing it very well, they track it on an Excel spreadsheet and they have it down to every donation attributed somewhere, and it really gives a lot of good information that helps us change strategy sometimes when we need, or go, wow, that station is the most donations because of their demographic or whatever the reason is. Let's get on that station more.
Absolutely. And I think,
go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I think with nonprofits, you have limited resources. So you can really track, okay, well, what should we be putting our time and effort into, and are people behind? So definitely good advice.
Bethany, is there any kind of analytic or, information that helps you when you're pitching for nonprofits?
I think some of the experience I've had is I've been lucky to represent some nonprofits who are given large donations, where they're large enough to where we write a press release to announce kind of that this is happening, which has been great, and that drives other donations. And as large as those are, some of the best ones have come where there was one 6 months ago where we were pitching in another area of the country, and I thought, I feel like there's this kind of link to a reporter here in Florida. I'd love to send the story to him to see if he would do it, even though it's not where we're normally pitching this story. But we did. And someone, I was told, contributed or donated $1,000 that morning in that same area where the story ran. So it was just fun to, while we're pitching these large numbers and, the releases of these, of the funding, it's fun to also then see, celebrate the little victories where someone's giving, $1,000 after seeing this 30-second story that, apparently really touched them.
Absolutely. You just made me remember something that will stay with me forever. I was working with a nonprofit client that was dealing with a rare disease that they were trying to help cure and hopefully are soon. But I was working on getting media coverage for a bike ride that was national. So it happened in multiple different cities. And it's like the smallest little win, but when I went to one of them in a certain city, I think it was Chicago, or not even sure which city this one was, but it was multiple times that this happened that someone said, yeah, I didn't even know about this bike ride, but I'm a writer, and I saw that news piece, so I signed up. And I was just like, yes. And they signed up and they donated, and then they got like 30 of their bike cycling people to join with them. And it just, I knew that it was because of that powerful media. And it just made me feel like it was that moment, like it just made me feel so happy that I was able to connect to organizations or to people, or, help in some way.
Yeah, it makes you realize that what we do really does make a difference, and PR makes a difference, and earned media makes a difference in ways that sometimes other marketing efforts can't always, with advertising and things like that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think too, uncovering the stories is probably one of my favorite things, I think, for both of you too. Just in talking with you each previously, but that finding those really sentimental or beautiful stories, that it's not always like donate, donate, donate. It's finding those beautiful stories that maybe even someone in the organization goes, well, that's just another person we helped. But when we're like, hold on, let me tell that story. And you get everybody who watches it crying, and or feeling something. Doesn't have to be always be crying, but it's just you can't advertise that. You can't put that on a billboard. You can't put that on a radio ad. Nothing against all of that. It's just there is absolute beauty in storytelling through the media, and sometimes social media and things like that. So I just think it has such a special place and has a direct result to more awareness and furthermore donations, volunteer signups, things like that.
Absolutely. I think nonprofits too, we don't always, I know talking to my own clients, they don't always realize all the stories that there are to tell. Sometimes it takes, even when I go out to an interview or an event with the client and get to talk to other people who might not be on the marketing team or things like that, and hear things that are going on, people, like you said, Jennifer, that they've helped. And I'm like, well, that's a story. That's a story. There's always so much going on that sometimes there's too much for us to pitch at times, that we get overloaded. So it's every single nonprofit, because you're helping people, you have those stories just at your beck and call to tell.
Mm-hmm. And Bethany, I'm just going to put you in the spot here, because one of the clients that you work with is probably like one of the most near and dear to my heart too, but is dealing with end of life issues. And it's a nonprofit that helps people during end of life with care, with so many different things. But I know that you personally have been a part of hearing people's stories of their final wishes and final things that they wish could happen, and this organization make it happen, and or just make things more comfortable, or treat them respectfully. So I'd love to hear from you for some of that experience.
Yeah, they really focus, like you said, on end of life care and just giving people, the dignity and the quality of life that they want and they deserve. And about a year ago, they granted some wishes for people who were in end of life care, hospice care. And one of them was a woman who was about 80. She had breast cancer, I believe. I want to say it was stage 4, but it was something where she felt like, well, I do want to start hospice care. I want to live out the rest of my life with the highest quality. And her wish was that she always wanted to go parasailing, and she had never been parasailing before. So I went down to assist with, her. She got on the boat. They took her parasailing, and just the joy in her face. And it was something so small. Like we grant these wishes all the time, but those resonate with people because they see that joy in that woman's face and, think she just looks so happy. You wouldn't think that she was maybe nearing the end of her life because she was doing something that she had always wanted to do. So I think that was really one of the first times I saw that client in that kind of light where it was, oh, we do this all the time. But that's a big deal.
Mhm.
They might see it as something small and, just a wish that they can grant. And I don't think it even cost them much money. I think the boat did it for free. But it just meant so much to her and to so many people who were watching.
That
Yeah.
brings up another really good point as we kind of wrap up here a little bit, but how much PR, public relations, can get collaborations and partnerships and oftentimes make things happen at either no cost or, just to help people. So I love that. There's a lot of magic in that too, that, sometimes it's just that phone call or email or whatever it might be that gets people to go, yeah, I'll be a part of this.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, this was such a joyful conversation because it makes my heart totally light up and want to help organizations that are doing really good things. Nonprofits just have such a special place in our heart, and everyone on our team is super passionate about it. And so I just thank you. Thank you both for being on today's conversation. And I thank you for watching. So stay tuned for our next episode.